Lewis and brought the other way. Under a minute to play. Kyla Charles looking to go strong. The floater is pulled down by Austin. The putback, no good. Charles still in possession. Off the glass and in.
Maryland gets a chance for extra possessions.
Maryland now in the full court press, and it goes to Maryland. Maryland fielding a 5 of Charles, Mike Sell, Steph Jones, Blair Watson, and Shanice Lewis. Jones down low and gets the and one.
Big.
So Garrido Perez has the inbound on the near side for Minnesota. Under 30 seconds left. A loose ball is fought for on the ground. And bodies spilling everywhere on the Xfinity Center on the road since 2009 in the NCAA tournament. Maryland has the ball now. Shanice Lewis will run the point. Stephanie Jones, 20 seconds for Maryland to find an answer. Hands off to Kyla Charles, 10 seconds left. Charles to the rim, off the glass, and it's in! Tie game! Defensive half is the Xfinity Center chance defense. 6'5" Shakira Austin on the inbounder Brunson. It's deflected in the hands of Charles. Coming the other way is Kyla Charles, 3 to shoot, to the hole, off the glass, and it's in! 0.9 seconds, Kyla Charles gives Maryland the lead. And the Terps hold on to win in the Xfinity Center. An incredible comeback.
Absolutely incredible. And who other than Kyla Charles? It is no surprise. Watch it here. She not only gets the steal, you knew she was going to take it all the way. Watch this. She swipes right through for the tough left-handed finish. Kyla Charles.
You can't say enough about Kyla Charles. After a disappointing performance over the weekend against Iowa, she comes back with an incredible 31 points, just one shy of her career high.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Focus TV. To be exact, this is episode 105. Yeah, so for once I paid attention, or I just actually read the flyer. Hope you guys did too. If you did, then you know we're joined by a very special guest tonight. If you didn't read the flyer, appreciate you guys tuning in. Anyways, joining us this evening, we have Denver Nuggets scout and player development coach, Joe Connelly. As we have in the past, you guys know when we get great guests that we feel have wonderful information, gonna drop gems. I can't wait till, Cardell starts talking so Octavia and I can sit back, take notes.
Best part.
Like we're here, but,
We are students today, but I ain't
just trying to take this all in, so we hope you guys do the same. But that means for the majority of the show, that's what we're gonna be doing is talking to Joe. So, Joe, thank you so much for coming in, first off.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. Congratulations on the 105 episodes.
I appreciate it.
It flew by, man.
I never know the numbers, so I'm proud of myself today.
me either. When you said that, I was like, sheesh, really?
I read the flyer for once. All right, so we're going to kick things off. First off, did you envision where you are now way back then? Did you imagine you'd be at this point?
Hell no. Not to be rude, but absolutely not. Like, up until I started coaching when I was 18, and up until the age of 32, did it grassroots. I was a school teacher in Baltimore. Graduated from Morgan State in Baltimore. Got my master's from Hopkins in education, and I taught at Frederick Douglass High School, Dunbar High School, Edmondson Westside, and Baltimore Freedom Academy. Loved it. Was coaching basketball, teaching. Was in a great zone, and some things sort of broke my way, which led me to a different lifestyle, and I'm thankful for it, but no way that I be here at all.
All right, so staying kind of like way back then in the beginning of, this journey, we all know that time, and I know a lot of fans that do as well, but can you remember that? When was the time that you fell in love with the game of basketball?
It's probably Len Bias. I love Len Bias. Grew up a big Maryland fan. My dad used to take me to the games and stuff, but that team that he was on and the way he played the game, I just fell in love with that style of basketball. Obviously, I couldn't emulate it, the athleticism and stuff like that. And still one of the most devastating days of my life was waking up on my black and white TV, seeing that he passed away, right after the draft. So, that era was, really the era when I was really young coming up. So he was probably my favorite player, and sparked the real love of the game.
All right, Octavia, you want to throw a couple questions in before you know?
I mean, I know Cardell gonna get to it eventually, but I mean, I have to, because everybody here that ever listens to the show, and I know they know, I'm a huge Melo fan, like from the beginning, and just reading the articles and stuff. Like, what was it about him that kind of like made you like you knew he was gonna be good?
Well, that's a great question, because like if you know Carmelo's history, like when he came in high school, he was 5'9". And he was a guard, he was a point guard, he was gangly, he was slow, his skill set wasn't developed like it was. But, I think one of the things that benefited him the most was like he didn't have the hype with him. Like there were other guys that were more highly touted, but not having that hype and the spotlight on him from a young age. Like nobody ever knows this story, but like I coached at Towson Catholic High School, this high school that he went to. As a freshman in high school, he won one game on JV, like one game the whole season. He didn't play varsity. He had trouble with grades sometimes, so he was on and off the team. But I was the varsity assistant. The one game he won, I happened to coach. My brother was a junior on JV, and I played him. Played everybody. But Melo was 5'9". And he was the game naturally came to him, but it wasn't like, oh man, he's a surefire. But I think the fact he wasn't hyped up gave him more ammunition to try to be great, and obviously he just grew. He grew, and the picture on your screen right there, he's number 15 on the screen, and you can see I was taller than him at that time. And the guy next to him was a bad dude too, LaFonte Johnson. He played at GW, but went to UNLV, won a championship at Dunbar. Keith Jennifer, who played at Virginia, was on the team. So he had good guys around him. And I think that was part of the thing. He was from the hood of the hoods in Baltimore, West Baltimore, Myrtle Avenue. He was from, the legit tough part of Baltimore. But within the 2-block radius, there were five guys that went Division I basketball. So he was sort of in a right pocket of people, and the hustlers around his way did a good job of keeping him away from a lot of the bad stuff. So it was a good good mix for him.
That's all I needed to know.
Wow. So you're done here.
I'm good.
I'm going to cut off your mic then.
Okay.
Cardell.
I'm going to transition to the Nuggets right now.
Sure.
Currently, the Nuggets are 41-18, second place in the West behind the Warriors. What will it take for y'all to make a deep run in the playoffs?
Well, obviously, we lack playoff experience. The one thing that's benefited so much is our young core, and just having the depth that's carried us through our injury spells. But having Isaiah Thomas come back healthy, Paul Millsap's got rejuvenated legs. Those guys, I think, are going to lead the way. But getting back to our defensive principles, and then not playing to the tightness of the moment. We play a loose style of basketball. The ball moves freely. If you're open, shoot it, and not changing who we are in the playoff setting. So, obviously no one predicted we'd be where we are at this point right now, and I think this is just this is the beginning of where it's going to be from this point in the future.
Isaiah Thomas has had a rough couple years after his dominant run with the Celtics before he hurt his hip or whatnot. He's healthy now. He's getting his legs back under him. Talk about what he can bring to that inexperienced backcourt, because he's had playoff wars in his career. Talk about what he can bring to them to kind of, help speed up that learning curve.
Sure. Well, obviously that's a bad man. He's what he's done in his career. The 50-point games, averaging 29 points a game in the season. It's a bad dude right there. And I think what's going to benefit us the most is his mental edge. He's got that sort of FU mentality that I think it rubs off on our young guys in a real positive way. He's been great with our young guys, even through the injuries with Monty Morris, Malik Beasley. He sort of helped them, giving them the confidence on the court. And going in the playoffs, if you're preparing to play us, you have to consider when Isaiah Thomas comes in, we have to get up on the screens, and it opens up the floor for Plumlee to roll, our shooters to shoot, and just that swag, I think, it's gonna be huge for us.
Nikola Jokic, a.k.a. the Joker, averaging on nearly triple-double, 20, 10, and 7, 50% from the field, 30 from 3, 84 from the line. He isn't close to being one of the best athletes in the league, yet he destroys better athletes in the league. So why doesn't he get more consideration for being the top center in the league?
That's a great question. I think, one, our media market isn't as large as maybe like the Philadelphias, New Yorks, and that type of thing. And, like he's not a high. I think he has more triple doubles and dunks this year, which is unheard of for a center in today's NBA. But his skill set, his savvy, like he's almost our point guard. He leads the team in assists. I think he's 6th in the league in assists at the moment, leading centers. But just his feel for the game is so innate, and he loves to pass the ball. Like most guys now, the alpha males want to get the ball and they're pounding, they're going to shoot it regardless. He wants to pound it, see where your man's going so he can give it up. He's got one of the best quotes I've ever heard. When you score a bucket, one person's happy, but when you pass it, 2 people are happy. So like that attitude I think carries over to us, and there's not a more humble superstar in the NBA. And I think like he's going to be there a long time, and he's only going to get better.
Okay. Y'all, it's a young backcourt, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris. What's their ceiling?
Like Jamal, like I don't want to say Steph Curry, but I think it's realistic to think that he could be on the same trajectory as Steph Curry. Like he's a bigger guard. He's not shooting it as percentage-wise as well as we know he can. But like he just turned 22 2 days ago or 3 days ago. So like his 3rd year in the league. And he too has the mental edge, man. He's one of the toughest. He played I think he played his whole rookie season with some type of, I forget the injury was, but he played injured the whole season. Didn't miss a game. Turned his ankle. Like his dad, like I don't know if you saw the article on him, but they did an article on like how his dad trained him mentally from a young age. Like one of the excerpts from the article was like he would have him do a squat position and put a hot tea on his thighs. So if like he stood up or anything, he would get burned. Like have him play in the sun and all stuff that seems like, oh man, like it's crazy. But Jamal really bought into it. He's really into like Bruce Lee and the mental side of it. And I think it's so underrated, projecting him and just knowing that like how bad he wants it, how much he's willing to sacrifice to get there.
So he had a real live Jake Shuttlesworth. Putting them through the rivers, that's tough.
But I think differently. Like it was just like such a love. Like the love was even today. Like his dad still works him out. He trains him. When he went through a slump this year, they were in the gym at 1 a.m. working on their game, and like that type of team and just knowing somebody's got your back and is always believing in you. Like it's priceless for his development.
Okay, local product. Will Barton. Just coming back off injury, getting his legs under him. I've always loved this game. We spoke earlier. I said I feel like he's the X factor for the Nuggets moving forward in the playoffs because there's no team that have an answer for him when he comes in the game, especially off their bench, due to his versatility. How pivotal would he be for you guys?
Well, Will, I think like he epitomizes our team. Like underdog, like Portland. He was literally almost out of the league in Portland, languishing on the bench. We traded for him. It's slow burn for him to get his rhythm. This summer he signed his contract. A nice financial gain, locked him in as a starter, and then he has suffered his first injury of his career. So like finding his rhythm, but like as you referred to, he's got that wiggle that you can't teach. He's impossible to defend when he's going to the basket, and he's matured so much as a player where he's just so unselfish and such a leader that I agree with you. He's gonna be a huge X factor because he's one of our main guys off the bounce that can get in the paint whenever he wants.
All right, I know you already mentioned talking about not pretty much being in the largest of media markets, but we were talking before the show, talking about we've heard a lot, with the league, talking about young cores in the league. People jump to LA, people jump to Boston. Guys are stats in Denver. There's a certain person people forgot exists just from last year's draft, who pretty doggone talented. They're looking at what you guys have done in the draft and even with some of the G League players. How have you guys been able to kind of compile that roster under the radar?
Yeah, well, I think, like obviously, like my brother Tim is the GM or the president of the team, and he's done a great job of identifying like guys that love basketball, not just guys that come in that they're paid to get play. Will Barton plays for free all summer in Baltimore. You can catch him at the Brunson League anytime you want. Monte Morris, who is the 51st pick in the draft, played the whole season last year in the G League, is one of the leading candidates for 6 Men of the Year this year. You know, so I think like just finding guys that like have the baseline talent, but have the desire to be the best player they could be. Like it's a great combination.
All right, sticking with the Nuggets still, we've heard from Daryl Morey is one of the loudest people in the league in terms of built my team to beat Golden State. Got other GMs where it's we want to do something similar to them. You guys, Sacramento, a couple other teams, where it seems like you guys are building the best team you can build for you guys. Why do you feel like going that route has been so successful for you guys?
Well, I think it would be not fair to not attribute some of it to luck. When a couple years ago the conversation internally was like we need superstars. We need that star to come in, and like we've had 2 homegrown superstars, I think, in Jokic, which was at the 41st pick, nobody could have predicted his trajectory would be as astronomical as it's been. And then in Jamal Murray, just another cornerstone piece, and Paul Millsap has been that vet that came in and like really stamped this. But I think like I think it would be impossible to find a better young core than our team, and most of these guys are locked in for years beyond this.
We're going to go to the scout side because there's a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, tuned in looking for, information from an actual NBA scout. When you're looking at, when you're at games and you evaluating positions, we're going to start with point guard. What is the main thing you're looking for in a point guard?
Well, even with the point guard, I would say for any position, especially for young players watching, it's a quote I follow when I scout is like talent is overrated. The individual talent is one thing, but you think if you look sort of looking at this is like an orchestra, all the pieces sort of have to go together and they have to complement each other. So guys, if we went to watch a guy and he scores 30 points, but he's looking off his teammates, he's arguing with his coach, he's not, not communicating with his teammates well, or he's not participating on defense, it's huge turnoff. So in point guards, Monty is a perfect example of what we look for in a point guard. Just unselfish. His assist to turnover ratio is incredible. He can beat you off the pick and roll. He can hit the floater, and he just has a real. And I know it's hard to put into context, but he has a feel for the game that you can't teach. And I think he typifies what we would look for. If any young players are watching that really want to watch how to run a team, I think he'd be the guy to watch right now.
What about shooting guard?
Shooting, shooting is such a premium in the NBA. You think to this day, it's still almost undervalued. With the way the 3-point shot has changed the game itself. If you can knock down the tray ball consistently, and from off the dribble, running into the shots, off pin down, stationary, being able to knock it down from all different methods, I think is huge. And then having some element of playmaking to your game as well. You think the specialists, the Korvers, the JJ Redicks, but you look at a guy like Buddy Hield, who's a great shooter, but he could also take you out. Brad Beal's a great example.
Yeah.
Brad came in as a knockdown shooter, and he's expanded his game every year since he's been in the league, and you see he's got a lot better off the bounce, man.
Yes. What about small forward?
Small forward, you think the 3-and-D analogy, but guys that can switch on defensively, that can play multiple positions. If you can defend and play a point guard and keep him in front of you, if you get switched off a big and you can battle him in the post, I think that defensive flexibility is huge. And as you were talking about, I think we have a great one in Torrey Craig, who typifies just that attitude. Not a great scorer, not somebody we're looking to, but he has something that analytics can't quantify. Is just that go hard attitude every game. There's no metric to measure the impact that energy brings to the game and his force. So in small forward, just the versatility and just having that real physical presence.
All right, what about the power forward?
Now you think a couple years ago, you would think the 4 you want a guy that can go in the post, and but Porzingis is a 4. Dirk Nowitzki is a 4. Kevin Durant. That 4 position has changed so much. So guys that can step outside, that can knock down a 3-ball, can score, score in the post on the mismatch, and that can still, same thing, have defensive versatility that can, contain smaller guys.
Center.
You know, for us, our centers have to pass the ball. You know, like we need guys that can get it and they can distribute it. And Mason Plumlee, who is our backup center, is probably one of the best backup centers in the league. Jokic obviously is a great passer, but we drafted a guy out of UCLA last year who's in our G League team, Thomas Welsh, who like doesn't fit the like prototypical analytics from. He's 7 foot pale white guy from California. You know, not a high flyer, but shot 40% from three at UCLA, averaged double figures in rebounding, and just has a great feel for the game. So, you know, we're hoping for big things from him as well.
What are your turnovers when you're scouting? You're like, nah, we're good.
See, like for me, like I'm probably different because like I came up, like my pedigree coming up here, like I like to go to street ball games. Right. I like to go, you know, some NBA guys like, street. I like going to Berry Farms and, you know, the Melo League when they had it and stuff like that. So really the turnouts for me are guys that are too cool. Like, you know, I can't stand, I don't care if it's young kids, like we're playing with my sons, NBA guys, or even if you go watch some older guys play at the rec, like guys that are too cool is like the biggest turnoff in the world. You know, because that means they're not going to die when the loose ball. Mm-hmm. You know, if they get hit, they're going to cry. You know, like I'm old school, man. Like, you know, like go hard. You know, like especially coming up in Baltimore, like coaching, like that was our thing. When we went on the road, we were never like DC was known for the crossovers and New York for the handles. Like, but when you played Baltimore teams, it was like, man, you know, they're going to come right at us. You know, like that, you know, I think that's carried over with me in scouting. That's the one thing that stuck out with Torrey, just like he's a go-hard guy. So I just hate the cool guys.
Okay. How big are intangibles when you're scouting?
I think they're huge, and they're probably the hardest thing to like quantify as a scout, you know, because it's not like you could just say, oh, like feel. What does even feel mean? You know, like if you were to say, if I would ask, you know, everybody would have a different opinion of what feel is. But like the intangibles, like I like to go to a practice early and like see who's in there first, who leaves last. You know, like who's the guy that's like when they're doing like the spot shooting drills is locked in. You know, like, and it's, you know, it's a game, so you want everybody to have fun. But like when you step on that court, it's time to go to work. And so I definitely think the intangibles are like probably what separates like our scouting staff from maybe like we had a good run, but they've done a good job of like finding guys that have those intangibles that may compensate for like lack of athleticism or height or, you know, different things like that.
I just went on the scouting portion. How huge is it being able to defend in the NBA?
Oh man, you just think about if we were to go play, think about if like we were to go add one more person and say, all right, we're about to go play the Golden State Warriors. And we're like, Cardell, like what's the game plan? Like, like you think how, you know, like, because you read a lot of articles like, oh, the NBA doesn't play defense. Man, the NBA defense, the coaching in the NBA, the breakdown from film is so precise, you know, but like the guys are so good that, you know, Larry Bird used to say he was the master of the half inch. Like now, like Steph Curry, you can't give him a quarter of an inch, you know, like, so I think like that just having the desire to play defense and like bringing the consistent effort is huge, but I think, man, like, I go to some of the games and watch the shoot-arounds, and even when I was with the Wizards and stuff, like, how do you stop these guys? You know, like, going into a game, like, how do you say, like, man, how are you going to play KD? You know, like, all right, you get physical with them. All right, he's going to take you away from the basket. He's going to break you down. Like, if you know, like, it's one of the thing I think the casual fan really doesn't appreciate about, like, watch an NBA game. Watch how hard it is to fight through a pick-and-roll screen. Just a simple pick and roll. If you're defending the point guard and you have a 7-foot guy that set the screen, how do you know, like, do you go over, do you go under, do you switch it? Like, it's really, I think, an underrated, you know, thing about the NBA at the moment.
Yeah, I'm talking about when the Warriors came to town, so we was covering them, you know, Clay's release. And I was like, man, he gets it off so quick. You could be right there and it's just gone. And the coach looking at you like, come on, man. It's like, man, what am I going to do with that, man?
Yeah, but you think even if you do close out on him, right? Like, he shows you the ball, steps back. Like, how do you defend it? Like, it's impossible.
And the thing that he does, I think that it's kind of brilliant and people kind of overlook is he'll pump fake after you close out and it like disarms you.
Yeah.
And he's pulling as soon as you relax.
Yeah.
Like, soon as you're like, oh, I contested. He stopped. Oh, God. Oh, no. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, let everybody take a deep breath. Because there's a lot of show left. I know Cardell still has like 3 more pages of questions. So you're watching the Focus TV. We'll be right back. All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Focus TV. As always, wish you guys were here during the breaks, but some of you are. Shout out to you guys that are following on IG Live. Cardell has that on and streaming. All right, Joe. So I got a question for you before Cardell hops back in. Oh man, we talk about this so much, see it online so much, because a lot of people like to just take. We talk about how you were just talking about how hard it is to defend players today, and people just look back at the players of yesteryear and just throw it all in the trash and go, it was easy. It was plumbers and doctors and all this other wonderful things that they say. So, you know, around our age or whatnot, growing up, seeing the stuff that we saw in the NBA, do you feel like today's players are vastly more skilled than those of yesteryear? Or is it more that, you know, due to the rules, obviously, where we're just talking about defense, the game's changed, it's opened up quite a bit, that plays a role in that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, you know, like I do think I think today's NBA players are very much more skilled than, you know, again, we take away the great players, but like if you go back and look at Steve Nash's MVP years and compare like his numbers to something like James Harden or Steph Curry today, 3-point percentages and that type of thing, like even if you put up Larry Bird's 3-point percentage or Reggie Miller, man, there's so many guys shooting over 40% in the NBA right now. It's unbelievable. Like, and you think a lot of it is predicated on kids are starting earlier, and they're training a lot more. And you know, like the focus training and just the skill set. But I do think, like, I preferably I like the old NBA better. Like the competitive nature of it, the physicality, like the fight. I'm more of a fan of that style. But the skill level, like it goes back to the defensive question. The skill level is so high. It's almost impossible to defend some of these guys. Like that's like what James Harden has done. That's, you know, like that's all skills. You know, like he's putting you to sleep, like watching your feet, watching your shoulders. Like I think a lot of we take for granted how talented and how much work these guys really put in on their game.
Cardell?
When you were coaching coming up in Baltimore, who were some of the standout players we may know of and may not know of that you like, man, they were amazing? Oh,
man, that's the thing. Like, I was so fortunate to coach, like, you know, like, I came up with a great time in Baltimore when the talent was, like, really high. So, like, you know, obviously, but Melo, but, like I said, LaFonte Johnson, Keith Jennifer, Melvin Scott, Jamal Brown, who went to Dunbar, Johnny Hemsley, Tommy Polly, like it's a long list of guys I was fortunate enough to be around. And you know, from coaching then, I went to I would go to like the 5-star camps and Eastern Invitationals and I lived it. You know, it's not like I just did the coaching and like that's it. Like, you know, like I stayed at Honesdale, which 5-star was outdoor. You know, like there's a camp in New Jersey called Atlantic Cape Camps, which was this guy had 4 outdoor courts on his property, and Kobe Bryant, DeMar Johnson, James White, like Shaheen Holloway, like he had all these guys out there just hooping on the concrete. You know, like that's the stuff I used to love. Like, you know, so like Lamar Odom and all those guys were there, and you know, like all those games were nearly like fist fights and you know, like people talking trash, but it was all love. You know, like it was all in the same spirit of, you know, love of the game.
Do you feel like that competitive nature from yesteryear? And I'm like you, I like that era. I feel like, you know, if you got the best players from that era today, I feel like that's why they had the edge, because of that competitive nature and the mental part. Do you feel like that competitive intensity is missing in today's game?
It's tough to say because guys, you know, like obviously they play so many games, but like I know probably like when you came up, I was coaching and stuff like that, like it wasn't this many games to play. So you valued like, man, the games you did play, like man, we're going all out, man. Like, you know, like you play in the AAU tournament, you play five games in a weekend. All right, next weekend we have 5 more, you know. So like it's hard to sustain that level of competitiveness, but like. For whatever the reason is, maybe it's more teams and more opportunities now, but like I feel as though that like in the past it was more competitive. Like winning meant more than just like the individual accolades or, you know, getting the shoes and stuff. Like it was all about winning.
How tough was the Baltimore Catholic League when you were coming up coaching?
Oh, yeah, it was incredible. You know, like even, you know, like when I played, I'm gonna age myself here, but like I played against like Dunbar when they had Michael Lloyd and Keith Booth and Dante Brighton, those guys, and you know, like the league was good then. It was, you know, excellent. You know, I was there for Mark Karcher's entire dominant. He was easily the most dominant high school player I've ever seen in Baltimore. Like he was incredible. First game, I think he had like 37 points and averaged 25 points for his career. Like just a big guard. You know, like knee injuries like derailed his career a little bit, but talent level was really, and the coaching was top level as well.
Let's talk about the AAU scene at that time. It was very different than now. Like you said, less teams. You had to really kind of be on that trajectory to get on the team back then. Pre-social media, hardly any cameras. So it's rare to see a lot of legends now when they were coming up, see how they was coming up and all that. So who were the powerhouse AAU organizations when you were coming up? What made them special, and who were some of the standout players from those teams?
Sure. Well, I don't know. There used to be this tournament in Baltimore called the Charm City Classic. Yeah. You know,
the guy brought it back, matter of fact.
Yeah. So like Bill Spots ran it. He brought Tracy McGrady was there. Stephon Marbury. It was a great event for Baltimore. And off of that, he formed a Adidas sponsored AAU team. First year we did it. We had Kevin Simpson, who was a McDonald's All-American, Steve Wojciechowski, Dante Williams, Rodney Elliott, who went to Maryland. Like some real standout players. Led into having Shante Rogers. Like that team we had with Shante Rogers, I think was the #1 AAU team that year. We didn't lose a game. And Shante Rogers, that was our point guard, he didn't score more than 10 points in any game, and was MVP of four of the tournaments we won, because he was a gangster. Like a little guy coming down, like. If you're bringing the ball down on him, he's putting his forearm in you. He's taking the, you know, he would. I've never seen a guy that I was able to coach that punk somebody at his, like he would punk guys, man. You know, like we won a tournament in Boston. We left, you know, and like we left the trophy in there, so we had to go back and get it. It was almost a full-out brawl, and you know, like there's no back down in these guys. You know, like they're not scared, and I think, you know, Baltimore was probably different at that time because like rec centers. Yeah. Were running things. It wasn't AAU. It was like you had, before you got to the AAU, you had to be the man at Bentlow Recreation Center or Madison or Cecil Kirk, you know, so like you earned your rep the hard way, and then once you got to that point, like, we put the best players together on the team, and it was so pure then, because it wasn't based on like getting the material, the shoes and stuff. It was like, man, we got Baltimore in our chest, and we're going to play DC, and we're gonna go right at it, you know, and like the heart, like you know, the heart was all, you know, beating through the chest.
See, but we hate when we say that, you know.
You know, we're not allowed to say anything, man.
You know, after coaching high school in the AAU, you know, got on with the Wizards in 2011 as a player development coach. What was that like, finally being at the NBA stage? I
mean, it was crazy to even get to that point, you know, because like Roger Mason, who's a guy, like I said, I was a school teacher. My brother, who was like, I don't know what his role was with the Wizards at that time, but he started as an intern and was working way up. And Raj had 1 foot in the league and 1 foot overseas. And he, you know, like he linked us up together, and you know, we hit it off right away. And Raj, like he made the Wizards that year, turned it into a career with the Spurs. You know, like nice role with the Spurs. Had some, that opened up a whole situation for me. So. That when I got with the Wizards, the NBA lockout is what got me there. Like when the lockout happened, that was easily the best summer of basketball ever.
Was that when the Goodman Coalition and all the NBA?
Yeah, so like, you know, like literally, I was saying like KD was playing at Spingarn.
Yeah.
You know, he was playing at Barry Farms.
Wall and all that.
John Wall, like, you know, like, so the lockout comes, and so the first phase of lockout was teams, guys could go back to working in NBA facilities, but they can't work with NBA coaches. So I knew the vice president of the Wizards. He was like, man, bring your crew down here. So I'm like, man, this is the greatest. I'm in the Wizards facility. It's my show. There's nobody, there was nobody. John was in there. Like it was just Brendan Haywood, Roy Hibbert, just all NBA guys that were like looking for 5-on-5 runs to get ready for the season. And fast forward to a month in the season, they fired Flip Saunders and brought me in. And my situation was a little different because the management brought me in. Coach didn't necessarily bring me in, so it wasn't necessarily like, oh man, Joe, you're here, like, come on in, brother. It was like, man, this guy, right? So like, it took me a while to like work around it, but I found just being myself and just being pure with the guys like was enough for me, and I enjoyed it, man. Like if you ever like, one of the coaches with the Nuggets, who's now with the Pistons, he was with the Raptors at the time, said he used to like watching tapes of us because I would be behind the bench going crazy. Like if we had a three, like I watch some of these games and I'm seeing like you're so stoic. Like, what are you watching? Like, like we work all the time for this. Like, how could you not like, pump some fists and so I enjoyed it. It wasn't the ideal setting for me personally under Randy Whitman. Like Randy Whitman's an old school NBA guy, like I'm not an old school, I'm a school teacher from Baltimore, so like it was a good mix, but the guys on the team were so cool, like it was just, like we just found my niche and found the guys that wanted to work with me, and it made it real easy.
Man, don't be embarrassed. I'm the same way, man. Wall and do something. I be like, media, you supposed to just chill. I be up. I'm hollering like a fan.
Yeah, you have to. Like, it's a game.
You basketball person, they come out like good and bad. I show it.
You're right there watching the best of the best, man. Like,
like what's like, and again, like you think like there's so many guys are professional, keep it cool. Like it's refreshing to hear that. Like that you're not, that you still like have that pure love for the game where it comes out naturally.
All of it, man. So I'll tell you. But speaking of which, we're gonna touch on some. It's like a thing I'm hearing from former, current NBA players where they feel like if you haven't been in the trenches in the league, how can you develop a player that's going through the trenches in the league right now? What's your take on that?
Well, I tell you, like I remember one time this guy I went to high school with. So I played, I played 2 years at Towson Catholic, and I was on the team 2 years. Like had a couple moments, but so I did a shooting clinic. And man, shooting. Like I could, and then at the end he was like, man, show him how you shoot. And like I said, Lem Bias was my favorite player coming up, and there was a player on his team named Keith Gatlin.
Yeah.
And he's a point guard. He had the ugliest shot ever, but I just loved like. It was ugly, so I did a shot, and ever since then, like any guy I ever work out, I don't shoot, because the ball will go in, but my form is ugly, but that's a big thing, but I do think like a lot of it is just trust, you build up, like it's not just, oh, Octavia, come on, we're gonna get some work, like you and I would have to build up a rapport first, so you could just like trust me as a person, and then like once you're on the court, like players see through BS like that, like in a second, so like. I don't do a lot of talking, like some demonstrations, footwork and stuff, but it's the same, like my pedigree is all fundamentals, like 5-star doing stations and, like I like fundamental stuff. So like when I first started working with Raj, I'm driving from Baltimore down to work with him. I'm like, man, I'm gonna, I was sort of nervous because I was like, man, NBA, but like the more I went, the more basic it got, it was like, all right, like, because the fundamentals never go out of style, like, in and out is in and out, like, yeah, you could, like, add an in and out spin and cut it, but, like, a guy like Raj isn't going to get those opportunities in the game, so, like, it was more, like, once I found my groove and, like, what I did well, and, like, a lot of it comes down to being confident, like, I was I'm confident in my ability to teach the game, so, like, whether I played or not, or, like Trevor Ariza had a career year shooting the year that he and I were like going hard, so like Roger, like those are things that like feathers in my cap that just sort of give me more confidence to like, just not be scared to be wrong sometimes.
Because when I hear that, it makes me laugh. I'm like, hold on. all y'all for the most part were developed by somebody that didn't play in the league on the way up.
Yeah.
They got shot prepared for the NBA.
For sure.
So now all of a sudden you can't, like, y'all forget that. So that's why it don't make sense to me. But I really think they're trying to say is, you know, you gotta, it has to be somebody who loves the game, who's serious about the game and work with us and stuff like that. Not just somebody who, I guess, a suit, come in, get in the front office job, analytic guys with they, you know, that war going on, and just say, you know what, this is how y'all supposed to play. I think that's what they're saying. They respect basketball guys, but it can't just be you never play in the league, you can't talk to us. Like, every one of y'all were developed by somebody probably that didn't play in the league.
100%. And, you know, that, like, for me, that was part of my learning curve coming in. You know, like, joining the Wizards, I had never, you know, I didn't have any experience with that thing, you know, like that level. And, like, fitting, you know, you think, like, doing your workouts catered to the offense is much more structured than, like, doing a general workout.
Right.
You know, so, like, I learned a lot. I learned so much in my first couple of weeks of, like, man, like, all right, this is, you know, like, this is what I have to do, and it needs to fit in this context. And NBA workouts, like, you see, like, Instagram trainers, like, what they do is totally different from, like, what happens in an NBA workout. You know, like, it's really unbelievable, like. But you also see, like, players choose to work with those guys in the summer because, like, you could really come out of your comfort zone and try things that you might not have done before. But the NBA is really rigid in terms of, like, this is what we want you to do in this system. You know, like, shoot three, or, you know, like, it's just really interesting, like, to seeing the dichotomy of, like, who guys choose to work with, the styles they prefer, and what really works at the end of the day.
Do you feel like also it's because, like you said, the Instagram trainers, the players kind of get to do what they want? They have more control, whereas with the team like, nah, this is what we need from you.
Oh, 100%, man. Like, you think, like, all right, so if a guy's paying you, say he's paying you $300 a day, and you know, he's like, man, I don't want to do that. Okay, you know, like, what do you want to do next, my man? Like, yeah, like, what do you want to do? You know, like, and that's a hard thing, and that's the thing, like, with guys I work with, it was like with Raj, like, we had a report where it was like, nah, man, like, nah, this is what you got to do. We need 5 in a row right now, you know, like, and having somebody that can hold you to those standards, I think, are important, and I think, like, you know, like, it's just really interesting to seeing how social media has changed, like. I hate being called a trainer, you know, like, you know, like, that trainer is like a new term, but, like, it's still, like, it's just really interesting for me to watch it from a distance, because, like, I don't think I've ever videotaped any workout, you know, like, you know, and I think there's value in that, to look at that with the player, but, like, if you take a snippet, it's not sexy, like, to stand in front of the goal and, like, you know, shoot with one hand, you know, like, so, like, if I put it on Instagram, I would probably lose followers. Nobody wants to see that, but, like,
what is this?
Yeah, but that's what's gonna get your form right. You know, like, so, like, it's just interesting. I enjoy all aspects of it. You know, I'm not one of those snobs, like, man, you know, like, later, you know, like, some of the stuff I agree with, some of it I disagree with, but, like, everybody has their own methodology that works for them.
Jamal, he's a hot topic right now for obvious reasons, the injury, the state of the Wizards. You had him early in his career. You know, he came in as an athletic playmaker, only knew one speed. I remember those days, just up and down the court. What was it like getting him to slow down and understand when to speed up and when to slow down, and how that equated to his all-around game that he became an all-star later on?
Yeah, well, you know, obviously, like, I met John his rookie year at Kevin Durant's had a bowling party, so I met him there, like, one of the nicest dudes you ever meet. You know, like, the perception of him, like, being, like, a jerk and stuff like that. I really, like, the media, like, can twist things so much. Like, we get to, like, on the road, we would get to hotels at, like, 3 in the morning, and there's people out there waiting for autographs. He would never say no, like, ever. You know, like, other guys would walk past him, he'd stop and sign autographs. Like, even, like, I think what gives you a good insight with him, his mom, who's battling cancer now, and, you know, we're all praying for her. But, like, I think she used to work as a hotel maid. So one time he left his iPad in a hotel. So he called the security guard and, like, hey, man, go to my room and get my iPad. I left it in there. So he goes in and he's like, man, good thing you did. You left a $100 bill in there. And he was like, man. He leaves, so, like, he was mad. He leaves a $100 tip, you know, like, and nobody would ever know that because he's low key with it. He does so much for people that, like, goes unnoticed. So I know that's not really answering your question, but, like, just seeing how the especially here, we take him for granted. Like, you know,
always.
like
They definitely do that.
and it's for what? Like one more,
knows?
you know, like right now, if we were to get in, like, you think for him, like, if a Ferrari pulled out in front of on Rhode Island Avenue right now, and like, man, we got to go drive the Ferrari. You're gonna, you know, like drive, like he's a Ferrari, you know, and you think like the injuries is about another super tough dude, man, like just tough as nails. So I think like he was starting to get his groove. He's had like a bad run with injuries, and people were like, now they hate him for getting paid, but like, all right, think about when we made the playoff run, like how electric DC was at that time, you know, like, so you can't have it both ways. But I do think like, you know, like it's gonna be obviously a long road to come back from that injury, but he's one guy I wouldn't bet against because he's another guy. Man, that guy came during that lockout. He was like, I want to come to Baltimore. So I don't know if you ever been, the old Melo League was
at the
man,
yeah.
So when he like it's
Melo Center.
When he pulled up, like, you know, and I was joking with him, like I'm like, man, you came in, you were holding my hand, you were scared, you know? But it wasn't like when he walked in, like people were like, oh, John, man, F you, John Wall, like people were throwing money on the floor, like, you know, and he loved it, you know, like he's feeding into it, talking trash. And then when it's over, he stays for an hour taking pictures with, you know, like, I just got a lot of love for that guy, you know, because he's all heart, you know, and I think, like, he gets a bad rap for a lot of different things. And, you know, like, obviously some of the stuff he does is warranted and stuff, but he's all heart and, you know, like one of my favorite players and favorite people that I've had a chance to work with.
You know, we laughing because we actually get irritated when we were there in the media scrums and we hear media people talking about, like, making up stuff, and then you read the article like, hold on, that's not what happened. Like, why y'all playing? And then the people come and ask us, like, is that what really going on? Do him or Brad Bill hate each other? Like, no, man, like, stop, man.
They, annoying thing in the world.
They lie, but he knows I'm a big John Wall guy, and, you know, I just appreciate the fact that he accepted the challenge of trying to uplift the Wizards, because after, you know, the situation with the arenas, I mean, it couldn't get no worse.
Yeah.
And he came in, 19, 20 years old, like, this is what it's going to be. I'm going to try to uplift it. And then he kept getting better. Like you said, that playoff run, I believe the Wizards would have got to the Eastern Conference Finals had he not broke his wrist against Atlanta. Y'all had him. So, you know, just seeing what he come, like the contract, he earned that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, you know, like, how can you be mad at him? And that's what the CBA is. You know, like, that's the way that the contracts are set up. You know, like, either, you know, like people were mad when Otto got paid. All right, if the Wizards would have let Otto go, they would have got nothing in return for him. You know, so like, I think like a lot of the public perception of him, but like, he's a guy right now. If you know, like, if I needed $10, like he'd be there. You know, like he played in Berry Farms. You know, like he's just a real, and he, you know, like, and he parties. Like, okay, I party. You know, not anymore so much, but like, what's wrong with that? He plays hard, he works hard. You know, like, there's never a game you watch him on the court and it's like, man, he's dogging it out there. Like, I think we don't appreciate like what he's really brought to the team and to the city.
I mean, we could say it, you know, we from it, it's a crab area. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Look what you're doing with Bryce Harper, you know, running. We run so many people out of town for what?
Yeah.
You know, and then complain when we not when it's like.
And then when they leave, they go somewhere else and prosper, and we sitting there looking like, dang, we had them. What happened?
And it's always because it's like, it's crazy, but you know, they usually go to an environment where, I don't know, they're appreciated. Positive environment, things where, you know, there's from the top down, things are together. But you know, it's interesting how that works. We're gonna take our last break of tonight's show. When we get back, still have a couple more questions for Joe. You're watching the Focus TV, but before we get the break, 9-4-50 breakdown. It's time to see what Jamal Hayward has for us this week. Jamal is breaking down a step out cross between the legs, behind the back again. Run that back. It's breaking down a step out cross between the legs, behind the back. Jamal Hayward, 9-4-50 breakdown. You're watching the Focus TV.
Today, we're going to work on a downhill move. It's more so a move that's effective to get the defender to shift one way and you go the opposite way. So it's called a step out. So you can add a crossover with it, you can add it between the legs with it, you can add it behind the back with it. So if I'm coming downhill towards the defender, step. So now break down the move. Downhill to the defender, step. Shift my weight to the right. So now I step up hard, cross, or step up hard, between, or step up hard, behind. Do the same thing with my left hand. So I'm coming downhill, step out, shift my weight to the left, cross hard to the right. Step out, shift my weight to the left, go between the legs. When you go between the legs, make sure you drop your inside shoulder towards the defender's hip. Today, we're going to work on a downhill move. It's more so a move that's effective to get the defender to shift one way and you go an opposite way. So it's called a step out. So you can add a crossover with it, you can add it between the legs with it, you can add it behind the back with it. So if I'm coming downhill towards the defender, step. So now break down the move. Downhill to the defender, step. Shift my weight to the right. So now I step up hard, cross, or step up hard, between, or step up hard, behind. Do the same thing with my left hand. So I'm coming downhill, step out, shift my weight to the left, cross hard to the right. Step out, shift my weight to the left, go between the legs. When you go between the legs, make sure you drop your inside shoulder towards the defender's hip.
All right, again, want to thank Jamal Hayward over at 9450 for another week, another installment of the 9450 breakdown. So we're going to finish up this great conversation with Joe Connelly.
Okay. After you spent with the Wizards, you went to become a head coach with the Sydney Kings in Australia. What was that experience like?
Oh, that was incredible. You know, like I don't like Australia. Like I'd never been there. Like always a place I always dreamed of going, and I brought my family. So where we stayed, like, is where they had the Olympics. So like you're 45 minutes from the beach, and you're 45 minutes from the mountains. Like the league is great. It's a great league. Every game is on TV. You know, they draw great fans, and you know, like the team I inherited wasn't really that strong. You know, but had a great group of guys. Had a guy from the area, Marcus Thornton, on the team who did very well.
William
Murray, yeah. Josh Childress was on the team. He was injured, but like we have 4 guys on that team that like the only time they ever played in that league was like when they were on that team in that little window. So it was a great experience for me. Team didn't fare so well, but I just loved. It was, you know, it was a test for me. Like, all right, not being scared of the moment. You know, like 13,000 people, and you know, like I felt perfectly comfortable doing it and enjoyed it a lot.
Okay. Then you helped with the Big Three, helped launch it. How happy are you to see where the league is now?
You know, like it's sort of bittersweet because, you know, Raj brought me into that. Like I went to the press conference, and like the first night I get there, like Allen Iverson, and you know, fortunately I've never really been awestruck, but like you get around some of those guys, like these are icons. You know, like you talk about Ice Cube and Iverson. These are guys that like literally like changed the game in their respective genres, and you know, like being in the position I was in, like I helped make the rules for the league. I helped set up the practice schedules, the combine. I recruited 60 players for the league the first year, and you know, like things with Raj and the ownership went a different way, so it sort of like got caught up with me. But it was a great experience for me. You know, like the first day we did the combine, you know, Dr. J, the Iceman, you know, all these greats are there, and I'm telling them, all right, this is how we're going to do the combine. And you know, like they were all really humble guys. You know, the NBA players were super cool, and it's good to see that they're still going well. Wish them nothing but the best.
What's next for you?
Just enjoying the moment. You know, I think part of what's really benefited me is like I never like had a goal, so to speak. Like, man, I want to get to do this. I'm just going with the flow. Like I left the Wizards because like took away too much time with the family, and I have 3 kids that are between 12 and 6 years old, and I want to enjoy that time. And, you know, anything associated with basketball, I'm blessed to be around. And my current role with the Nuggets, like, past 2 years, I spent over 60 nights in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, so it's not as glamorous as, like, some people might think. But since we don't have a G League team, we assign players to different teams, and, you know, that's my job, to work with them while they're there. So I've been to Iowa and, you know, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I wouldn't recommend to anybody looking to do anything besides just go watch the basketball. But really, you know, like to bond with like Malik Beasley and Monty Morris, Torrey Craig. This year we had a player with the Go-Go, and, you know, like just really just a great experience being around different organizations, different teams, and just seeing, like, I think the G League is one of the greatest things out there. Because if you go to a Go-Go game, you're going to see out of a team of 10 guys, 7 guys that will never, ever have a chance to play in the NBA. But they're playing for that love. They're not playing for the money. And, you know, I think it's a super underrated thing that the Wizards have brought a G League franchise to the area.
Man,
and shout out to Pops, too, man. Pops is killing it.
Yes, sir. Him and Jarrell Christian doing a great job over there. Top down,
Vincent, all
yes.
Vincent, all that.
Man,
all those guys.
And how about that in the first year? I think they eclipsed 20 wins already. Man, that's one way to start something off. Wish them continued success. Joe, thank you so much for coming in.
I could do this all night. This is like a conversation. I really enjoyed it.
We definitely appreciate you taking the time to come in, man, and we wish you, the Nuggets, continued success the rest of the season. We will definitely be watching. Everyone, as always, get over to finestmag.com. Get over mymomasports.com. We got some Wizards. They'll be back in town soon. Man, I've been telling y'all DC United, man, was there earlier today. Just another reminder, Audi Field is beautiful. Get out there. If you get a chance, go check out a game. Regular season opener is Sunday. But go ahead, Cardone.
And also check out the high school state championships coming up. Congrats to St. John's girls winning the WCAC, and Gonzaga boys. They won the fellas side of the WCAC. Get out St. Francis won MIAA up in Baltimore. Virginia about to start up. Maryland State's coming in early March. A-10 championships coming. I'm gonna be up in Brooklyn for that. That's coming in early March. So it's getting real. It's high school about to close. And March Madness, all that's coming. So about to have a lot for y'all.
Definitely so. So we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place as always, right here at Blitz.fm. And we catch your Focus TV. Every Friday, 10 p.m. on DC TV.